Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this city in which we live. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. In Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Welcome, everyone. This is the Newnan City Council meeting, May the 23rd, 2023. You have the minutes of the regular meeting of April the 25th, 2023 before you. I'll entertain a motion. We adopt those minutes.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. We adopt the minutes as presented. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. We'll go into some appointments on boards and commissions, if you don't mind, at this point. The first thing we have is to accept the resignation of Matt Bryan, the term to expire in August of 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. We accept with regrets that resignation of Matt Bryan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Shell, might you have an appointment this evening?
I've got one of the youth activities.
Okay, so we'll put that on our next agenda.
I said I've got one on the youth activity.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead with that one, or you want to go down
No,
the
we'll
line?
get to that in
All right.
just 1 second, if that's okay. The next one, the Parks Commission, I'll put that on the next agenda, please. Mr. Kritko, Tree Commission,
Next agenda as well, please.
thank you. And then, under the Urban Redevelopment Agency, I would like to put forward the name of Jess Barron.
Second.
Motion and a second that we appoint Jess Barron to the Urban Redevelopment Agency. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. And Mr. Shell, Youth Activities.
Yes, I wanted to reappoint Peyton Shellnut.
All right. Second. Reappoint Peyton Shellnut to the Youth Activities Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Tonight we have with us in the group graduating seniors from the Newnan Youth Council. And we have no other Newnan Youth Council members here tonight. So Ms. Jenkins and I are going to tag team on handing out the certificates. For those of you who don't know what the Noonan Youth Council is, it is a group of students that are selected countywide from our high schools, sometimes from Heritage, sometimes Trinity, just depending on what the application process looks like. That process starts in the 10th grade, and they serve on the Noonan Youth Council for the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. They learn all about municipal government and how the city operates through the way we do things here in Noonan, which probably not unlike a lot of places that are other cities where they may wind up living one day. They also learn the importance of being involved in the community, and we appreciate so much their participation for the last few years in the Noonan Youth Council. So, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a great group of kids this year. Unfortunately, I haven't been as involved as I normally have been, but we have a wonderful group of Youth Activities Commission members who are working with our students every year, and the chair, Roy Goner, is here. He has honor cords to give to our kids this year who are graduating. Are there any other Youth Activity Commissioners here tonight? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay.
I think we started doing the honor cords last year or year before.
Yep.
And it's a great addition to the graduating robe.
Yep, absolutely. And so they'll be able to wear these at graduation to show that they worked hard and earned their cord for their service to our community and their dedication and their hard work to be the youth voice, the official youth voice of the city of Noonan. Thank you all very much. And we're very proud to have 11 students who are graduating this year and who have participated in our program, all of them for 3 years. So we'll start with Danny Blanco, who's a 12th grader at East Coweta High School. He will be attending the University of West Georgia and will be entering basic training in the Army Reserves as a civil affairs specialist, majoring in economics. He was also one of our Christmas parade judges. Congratulations. We have Lacey Daniel, 12th grader from Noonan High. She will be attending the University of Colorado, majoring in journalism, minoring in sports media. She was our 2021 and 22 historian, 22-23 NYC secretary. We have Sabria Fowler, 12th grader at East Coweta High School. She will be attending Vanguard University, majoring in engineering physics, and was a 2022-23 Christmas parade judge. Lauren Johnson, 12th grader from Heritage. She will be attending Georgia State University, majoring in nursing, and was also a 2022-23 Christmas parade judge. Congratulations. Riley Johnson, 12th grade, East Coweta, will be attending Kennesaw State University Honors College and majoring in biology, focusing in pre-med. She was a National League of Cities attendee in 22-23, the NYC Treasurer and Vice Treasurer over the years. Will Koretko, 12th grade, homeschool. He will be attending LaGrange College, majoring in mathematics, eye on mechanical engineering. 2022-23 Christmas parade judge, National League of Cities attendee, and he is the 2022-23 NYC at-large school representative. Of Councilman Dustin Koretko. Lillian Maxfield, 12th grade, East Coweta. Liliana, I'm sorry I pronounced that wrong. She will be attending the University of Georgia, majoring in art history, was a 2022-23 Christmas parade judge, and 2022-23 National League of Cities attendee. Congratulations. Reese Palakas, 12th grader at Heritage. She will be attending Auburn University, majoring in psychology, and was a 2022-23 Heritage Representative. Isabella Rodriguez, 12th grader, East Coweta High School. She will be attending the University of Georgia, majoring in biology, is a 2022-23 National League of Cities attendee and the NYC historian this year. Congratulations. Jabrio Wells, 12th grader, East Coweta High School. She will be attending University of Alabama, majoring in kinesiology, 21-22 vice chair and the 22-23 chair of the Union Youth Council. And Zach Zachary, 12th grader at Northgate. He will be attending Georgia College, majoring in business management. He was a 22-23 National League of Cities attendee, the Northgate representative for both 21-22 and 22-23 school years. Thank you all very much for your service, for your dedication, and your hard work. We are very proud of you. If you ever need anything from us, know that you can always count on us in the city of Newnan to support you. Thank you.
And our Roy's got, right? For a photo outside, parents, photo with us outside, out front.
Good job.
Anybody that's in the hallway can come on in.
If there's anybody else out in the hallway who needs a seat, I think,
There's some available.
I think they have probably left for the evening.
They graduated.
Okay, moving on with the agenda, Mr. Phillips, do you have anything this evening?
I do not, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anything this evening that's off agenda. The next item on the agenda under new business is a public hearing. This is an application for alcohol beverage license for DBA JD Food Mart, retail off-premise package sales and malt beverages. This address is 100 Temple Avenue, and the reason for this is a new business. This is a public hearing, and I'll ask if there's anyone here that would like to come forward to speak to the issue of this alcohol license. So, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask if there is a representative here this evening for this license. Thank you for being here this evening. Is everything in order? I'll ask for a motion on the application.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second to approve the application. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item is a public hearing for the demolition request of 2 Westgate Park Way. Mr. Stevenson, how are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Mayor.
This is a public hearing
evening.
for the demolition request of 2 Westgate Park Way, and I'm going to open the public hearing at this time.
Before you is the request by the owners. The owner is Newnan Housing Authority. Tracy Donovan is here to represent them if you have any questions. Some items of interest are item C there, showing the estimated tax assessment value of $214,128, and the estimated cost of repair or replacement, $325,000 and $375,000, $325,000 and $375,000 respectively. The feasibility study was conducted by an architect, Mr. Scott Holmes, and the information is in your packet. The second point of interest is that this is under the NSP3 program, so it is something that the city is doing under that program, under the guidance of Tracy and her team.
All right. This is a public hearing. Does anyone like to come forward to speak to this issue? Let the record show that Ms. Strozier is also in attendance this evening, the Executive Director of the Newnan Housing Authority. Anyone come forward? I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. Thank you for your report. Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We grant the request for the demolition of 2 Westgate Park Way. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
The next few items are fairly straightforward. The next is an election of the GMA's district officers for 23-24. You have this slate before you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We approve the slate as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The appointment of the voting delegate to the annual GMA business meeting, as you know, I typically am in Savannah and asked to be appointed as a delegate. I will not be in Savannah this year due to a family vacation. So, what's the council's pleasure?
You gonna be there, George?
I did it last year, so I'll allow someone else.
Sunday at 3 o'clock is the business meeting. Does someone volunteer? Did I hear that?
I think George just did.
No, I did it last year, so I'll allow one of my other council members to volunteer.
Sure, I'll volunteer.
Mr. Gion, thank you, sir. So that's a,
Take one for the team.
I'll make a motion for Councilman Guillaume to
Second.
be
is
the
there a
voting
second?
delegate.
There was a quick second to that motion.
Wow, surprising.
Yeah, exactly. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is a request to abandon right-of-way. This is a portion of Noonan South Industrial Drive. Mr. Smith, how are you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity. The request before you is simply the first step. At this point, you can entertain the request if you think it's worthwhile. That'll direct us to begin our research with various departments to determine if it's in the best interest of the city to actually abandon this portion of right-of-way, or you can simply reject the request. If you do decide to accept it, we'll do the research. We will schedule a public hearing at a later date and come back to you with any recommendations.
Yeah, and everybody on council understands the fact that the property owner owns both sides of the road, and you've read the letter, so we won't have to go into that. But what concerns me is we're losing a cul-de-sac at the end of the street. And that is an industrial park. Not only our public safety equipment, fire trucks and such, but Mr. Phillips pointed out to me, of course, what I just said. It is an industrial park, and there's an 18-wheeler in there. They go down that road, and they need to turn around. They need a cul-de-sac in which to do it. So I think if we want to give, if the council decides they want to give staff instruction to step through the process, it needs to include that the people we're dedicating the right-of-way to come back down to where it ends and build a cul-de-sac there, so that we will have that still in the street system. Just a thought.
Because I want to know what, I mean, are they just going to plan on cutting it off originally? Just-
Essentially. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir, that portion you're seeing before you, because they had to have a certain amount of road frontage, they have come back, you'll see there's kind of an access road towards the bottom, right before you see the stream. So they stepped out about 200 feet. They had to have 200 feet of road frontage on a public road, so that's why they have backed up to that point that's highlighted in yellow. And our understanding is they plan on gating it and using it to secure their premises as a Cellcat training facility, I think, for linemen and such, is what my understanding is.
Yeah, it's a great business for the city of Noonan. They're
It seems odd just to end, I mean, to end the road like I'm seeing, maybe I'm wrong. But I mean,
Well, their property comes down to a point.
Down to the corner, right?
Right, their property comes down to a point, and then they had to at least keep 200 feet of road frontage on a public road, so they couldn't bring it all the way down to the access road, or they would be creating non-conforming lots. So in order to make sure they didn't create any non-conforming lots, they had to come back some off their original proposal, and this is what you have there amended since our original meeting with them.
But designing and building a cul-de-sac there would not encroach on their 200 feet.
No, sir,
Part of
that
the
would be,
frontage.
if that's, that comes to fruition.
Give them more frontage.
Yeah, that would give them more frontage. They would have to engineer it and design it and be ran through our engineering department to be approved and constructed.
That makes sense to me, build it to city standards. And now that access road to the right there, that is for their private use, correct? That's not a public
That actually,
access?
I think it goes to a separate development off in the county. I think it's, I can't remember the name of it. It used to be, I think, a a concrete castings type plant, prefab, something or other, and I don't know what is currently there now, but it is basically an access road that services that other business. It doesn't handle with Cellcat's property.
Well, if they own the property and it ends there, and what 18-wheeler, I mean, where would that occur? When you said somebody couldn't turn around.
Well, that's what he's suggesting. If in fact you decide you want to pursue this as part of the abandonment request at a later date, you may want to put a condition that Cellcat would have to construct a new cul-de-sac to replace the one that they'll be asking us to abandon. Or you could simply say, we don't think this is in the best interest to do this.
I don't know what to, I mean, I understand what y'all saying about it, but who's gonna have an 18-wheeler except them?
There are other
That
uses.
road is there.
Well, yeah, within the industrial park, there are several users,
Industrial.
and there's very little area for them to turn around. Sometimes
Okay,
they'll
so
come all the way in that
was what
road,
it's being
turn
used
around.
for, was other trucks turn around.
Right, because there's only one point in and one point out, basically,
Gotcha, okay.
to the park.
Seems logical then to get something there where they can turn around.
Do we need a motion on that, Mayor?
Well, what we're looking for is a
Direction.
motion to just instruct staff to move forward with the process to bring it back to us for our final approval. So if that's what you had in mind.
Yes. I make a motion that we direct staff to include on the planning the cul-de-sac in the future.
And I will second that.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Is that also going to be taken into account, an appraisal for that portion of the road that they'd be acquiring?
I mean, that's an option. You typically, with you have an option, and Mr. Sears might be able to give you some more clarification, but I think that you can either ask them to purchase it, is that right? Or you can simply quit claiming title over to it or abandon it to them, since they own both sides of the property.
They're gonna spend a chunk just getting a,
Designing and building the cul-de-sac.
But there are a lot of moving parts to this request. This is kind of a different type of request. So if we determine in our research that there's too many moving parts and not to our interest, we may come back with that recommendation at a later date.
Right, so we have a motion and a second to instruct staff to move forward, including the design of the cul-de-sac at the end of the street. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thanks.
The next is a bid award for a 19,500-pound GVW service truck. Mr. Norton, how are you, sir?
You're doing good, Mayor, Council.
Good.
This is to replace a truck that, of course, is an 11-year-old truck that was not budgeted to be replaced this year. That's why it's before you for this bid award. The engine was bad in it, and it was pretty cost prohibitive to replace that engine, so we decided to replace the truck.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the request of the bid award on a 19,500-pound GVW service truck. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next, thank you, Mr. Norton, you're still up. The consideration of an ordinance amendment to Chapter 17 Solid Waste of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newnan, Georgia. We have talked through this several times on the council level. Mr. Norton, have you got?
Two changes, Mr. Mayor. The first one being, we needed to clarify the ordinance that each residential property would be charged. For instance, if you got a duplex, it would be 2 accounts or 2 single uses that be charged to that. And then the second, I'm going to let Mr. Sears speak to.
Mr. Sears?
Because of some things that have gone on the state level, we've amended the penalty section for non-payment. And so we did that both in the residential and the commercial section. The citation will still issue and go to court, but it's very clear at this point in time that there is no jail time that would be involved because of non-payment.
So amended to be in compliance.
And it was kind of set up that way, but initially, but this is clarifying it more as before because of the way that we refer to some of the other penalties in the section, but we always intended it to be this way, and this does clarify.
All right.
And it addresses issues the court had.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple of things, and this is probably for Mr. Sears, just a matter of grammar, making sure that we're doing this correctly. On page 2 of the ordinance change, section 2, subsection 17, TAC 9-1 penalties. On the first line there, so I'm looking at the first paragraph there on the second page. Any owner or tenant failing to comply with the requirements of this section may subject, do we need to add the word be? May be subject to citation and prosecution by the city in accordance with this section. Just add the word be, be.
Sure.
We can do that. That was in, that part of the original ordinance was changed, but we can add that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's, correct there. And then flipping the page over to, under section B, subsection 3, and I'm not, this is a legal issue, that's a legal question I have. It says in the sound discretion of the court. Is that the sound discretion or the sole discretion of the court?
Sounds good.
Sound discretion, all right, thank you, that's all.
All right, then if we don't have any other questions, a motion to adopt as amended by suggestion of Mr. Corretco
So
with
moved.
the addition of B.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Next page, this is consideration to assign the HUD EDI grant to Noonan Urban Redevelopment Agency, NURA. Mr. Moody, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mayor and Council. Glad to be back before you. So this simple request is to assign the HUD EDI agreement that was authorized for the mayor to sign at the evening meeting in May to the Noonan Urban Redevelopment Agency for the purpose of managing decisions such as contractors, various other firms' decisions on designs, while the city also retains stewardship of the fund.
Any questions, Mr. Moody?
I do. I had a couple of conversations about it, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding and that we're moving forward in a way that will be very easy for people to find out what's going on with the funding. So one, assigning it to the Urban Redevelopment Agency does what for us?
Simply selects a body that will assist in moving designs through in a faster, more efficient way. Essentially, and it'll centralize one location. This will be one decision-making body. These members meet once a month. They will make all decisions in that one monthly meeting.
Okay. And does this at any time ever come back to the council in any way? Any reports, any kind of?
At the council's directive, we can certainly bring back reports if we needed to. But the decision-making body at that time upon assignment would be the redevelopment agency.
So then, will there be any kind of contracting with housing organizations that we have had long relationships with, that we know how to navigate this kind of complexity in reporting and guidelines that have to be followed and all of that, and that meet a spectrum of affordability?
So currently, the intended purpose of partnering will be for the new build portion of it. We intend to partner with the Housing Authority as we do in the ARPA program. For the lease to purchase program. They will be responsible for placing subjects into those units. As far as reporting, city staff will handle that in-house.
Okay. Is there any other organizations that you're looking at right now? And the reason why I'm asking that is not because I don't believe in the agency or the housing authority. What I am looking at is the affordability structures from both organizations. And I don't want us to miss the opportunity to address a spectrum of affordability. For instance, those of you that don't know, this is what I do every day with a Habitat affiliate. So I've been working with HUD for quite a while and have handled more money than we've got coming in here over the years. So I know it'll be very easy to try and go up to 120% of the HUD guidelines, but we do have families that need, to meet a lower income standard in order to take advantage of these opportunities that are now in this neighborhood to help more families. So have you considered working with a Habitat for Humanity, for instance?
We're going to consider all available partners. The only particular item that is necessary to know ahead of time prior to submitting the project narrative to HUD is we need to know ahead of time who our subrecipients will be. Now, it is only important to know who a subrecipient is if that subrecipient is receiving direct funding. So if the city intends to utilize one of those partners to manage the contracting on top of placing individuals into the units, then we will have to know prior. Otherwise, we'll follow 2 CFR 200-308, which simply allows for us to amend the project budget or for the project scope to be amended at a later date. But as far as we are aware now, we're open to partnerships. It just is a matter of is it feasible for us to ensure that we get it done in a timely manner?
Okay, and the reason why I also ask that is because in that situation, I think that, and I'm speaking generally because the Habitat affiliate that I work with does not operate in Coweta County. I want to make sure that is clear. So in our experience in working with HUD funds, Habitat actually comes in much lower than everyone else because the building is done in-house by a Habitat affiliate. So for instance, I see your number in here says that the average house cost would be $275, and we've come in $100,000 less than that as a Habitat affiliate, which means now you've got more money that can go back into the community to do more housing and get the cost down so that people who are lower income can afford a mortgage on a house. So I'm just a little concerned about the process that we're looking at, and that council, by giving this over to the Urban Redevelopment Authority, will remove ourselves from a process that really, I think, should take a few more considerations about how these funds are expended. Because the point is not to build a market rate house, even though I know 275 is far, nobody's building $275,000 houses. But I still think that there are opportunities there that we need to consider, and I would like to see, before we go ahead and say Urban Redevelopment Authority, here's the money, do whatever you want to with it, that we have some sort of guidelines that we can review to say, this is more specifically something that we're looking for from the Urban Redevelopment Agency.
And just for a cost perspective, the only reason we're estimating at $275 per house is because we also have to take in considerations of potential relocation costs, Davis-Bacon Act wages we're going to have to pay well above standard, and additional inflated costs in recent years, as well as any various other labor associated to the house. So
Yep, Section 3.
materials have significantly increased at this time, which is unfortunate that we've had to decrease the number of houses. But we do intend, upon the sale of these houses, to take program income and turn about more units by going through and acquiring additional property, as well as constructing those units to try to get to that original number. The feasibility right now, we have lots available to construct the 10, and we intend to, once those 10 have been started, taking that income based off of those sales to build additional homes in the area.
Can I just ask a question while you're thinking, maybe?
Sure.
And this is for Mr. Moody, Cynthia, this is what y'all deal with. Bringing in Habitat, if NERA actually owns the property, how does that work with Habitat? Say if we moved ahead and just did the demolition at this point, and then we kind of work through how that would work then for the rebuild, what would that look like?
So the city would retain ownership of the property through the whole process. So the properties that we're going to build upon are already city-owned properties. Nothing major would change on it. The only condition with Habitat is that we would need to ensure that upon the sale of the home, that the city receives the program income. That's the biggest piece. So we can continue to build new houses.
So Ms. Jenkins, how does that look? Again, I'm just, because you work in this, how does that look?
How I've done it with the organization in other communities that get direct allotments from HUD in the first place, is that we acquire our own property unless the county or city, whoever we're working with, acquired it, and then they're at the table when the closing happens, and then that's when the title transfers to the homeowner with a deed restrictions and things like that in place. And because federal money was used, they have the teeth because of the property in the cities. For homeownership, you have to live there 5 years or pay back what kind of equity you inherited from it. And Habitat has, in general, because I can't speak for Noonan-Coweta Habitat, but I can speak for our general principles, is that we'll have a first mortgage, which is for affordability. And so that first mortgage will be no more than 30% of their income. And they'll fit between 30 and 60, and some affiliates go up to 80% of the area median income and have a 0% interest, which is really the biggest part of it. So you don't go to the market for 5, 6, whatever the percentage interest is. Families, working families who have to have a history of steady work, they have to not have owned a home, and they have to have the right debt-to-income ratios, all the things that regular people who have the funds to purchase a home have to go through. So this is not a gimme, it is not a giveaway. What it is creating an opportunity for lower income residents to become homeowners at an affordable rate. So the first mortgage is what they can afford. The second mortgage is maybe what was put into it that wasn't able to be covered by the first mortgage. And then a third mortgage is equity, so that you are protecting the asset and you're also creating an affordable opportunity for the families. I could give you a whole thing on that, but I won't.
No, I guess I was looking at the legal structure between the city-owned property and then turning it over to Habitat so that it becomes privately owned. So.
Yeah, it becomes a homeowner situation. They have a mortgage, 30 years, they pay their mortgage, they take care of their house, they pay their taxes, they pay their insurance, they pay their termite, they keep up their lawn, just like everybody else.
What would you anticipate would be a reporting cycle from NERA
So,
back to the council?
that is 100% up to council. Right now, the HUD agreement is going to require us to report quarterly. So if we want to do quarterly reports, NERA can report quarterly to the council, or we can increase that and do a more frequent basis. It's whichever method best suits the council at this point.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be best to coincide the report to us at the same time you're doing the report? It should seem to make sense to be,
It would be much
rather
more
than
efficient.
something additional or faster, that would just kind of fall in line. My only other question that I have, and it's strictly for the sake of clarity, is working with, as you mentioned, other entities, Habitat for Humanity, et cetera, is that an additional hurdle that is put into NERA that doesn't need to be there? That's what I would ask you. So what has been your experience working with NERA in your section that you work in?
Well, it's kind of interesting because with other counties, we don't have a NERA. They have a HUD department because they get annual allotments of HUD money.
Okay.
So they have a whole division within their city to do that.
So it's not similar at all then, right?
It's not necessarily that it's, what you're asking is for NERA to do the same thing that the HUD department does in, Fulton County, City of Atlanta, Clayton County, Henry County, all these other counties that actually have the numbers and population. So you're asking NERA to kind of do the same thing if they were to work with other nonprofits, but also you're asking to do what those HUD departments do in terms of self-performance. And so for me, it is, are we using all the tools available to make sure that we reach a wide variety of folks that are
Right,
available for it?
understood,
And I can
yeah.
tell you that with the process that we're looking at, which is, getting a bank to, work with these families to get them a long-term loan so that at the closing table, we get program income, it comes back into, you're gonna miss a bunch of folks who really, truly need this. And that's why I'm an advocate of Habitat, and that's why I'm an advocate of those who have the models that can reach those people.
Understood, yeah.
Okay?
One quick follow-up question. Does this place an undue burden on NERA then, manpower-wise, administrative-wise, to manage all this stuff more than what their manpower already has?
No, I wouldn't believe so, because this is right in NERA's wheelhouse. This is what NERA was designed to do.
But do they already have the personnel in place?
Yes,
without
there are-
excessive, okay, just making sure.
So the bottom line is, we're trying to reach as many people who need help as possible using all the available resources and all the available agencies and make sure as few people fall through the cracks as possible. That's
Correct. And
bottom line.
the importance of getting this assigned and getting this project narrative and line item budget submitted to HUD is to expedite the process, because this will take time. This will be a lengthy
Right.
process. And essentially, the project narrative that we're currently working on is a grand scheme of things thing. It's an overview. It's very high level. It's not too deep into the weeds. It's just designed to give HUD an overall view, more or less, of what we intend to do. So that outlines specifically like that we're going to build 10 new construction units and we're going to rehabilitate up to
Right.
25 homes, but it doesn't get into the weeds of the specifics on the income requirements. That is
Understood.
something that we still do have time to set in stone.
But you want to be able to move forth at a nice rhythm and a nice pace.
Correct.
Yes.
In order to turn out houses.
Okay, Mr. Moody, if you don't mind me asking a question,
Yes,
if
sir.
we make the decision to move in this direction tonight, and down the road, we see that we are not liking the results for whatever reason, is it reversible?
This will not be in that project narrative. HUD will not know that NERA is assigned because NERA will not be recognized as a subrecipient. NERA will only be recognized by the city, by you as the council, as the managing body.
Okay.
The city will still be the recipient and the primary for expending those funds. So this is just a simple council decision.
Would it be
This
safe to say
does not
then-
involve HUD at all.
By default, we still have oversight as councils. Would that be,
Correct. You still have oversight of the funding.
right, okay.
Yes. The last council meeting, you authorized me to sign on this.
Yeah. But for the record and for clarity, we still have that authority.
And I'm not speaking so much of the process and sign the documents. I'm talking about what Ms. Jenkins was talking about. If we see down the road, a year and a half, that we have not provided the biggest bang for the buck, is that acceptable?
Yep.
Then we can pull back and say, let's go in this other direction. Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
That's certainly appropriate.
Okay. But tonight, what we have in front of us to move forward is this proposition.
Correct.
Okay. If there are no other questions, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to grant the consideration to assign the HUD EID grant to the Noonan Urban Development Agency. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next is a consideration of the surplus property declaration, disposition of capital assets and control assets. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion that we, second, we adopt the resolution as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is a consideration of a resolution and agreement for the use of city funds to receive from the National Opioid Settlement. You have an agreement that was passed out by Mr. Craver before you that has been changed, that is a change from what is in your agenda. Mr. Craver?
Yes,
a couple
sir,
of
Mayor Brady, members of the
minutes
council.
on that, please.
As you may recall, a little over a year ago, more specifically March 8th of 2022, this body corporately voted unanimously to join two national settlements against distributors and manufacturers of opioid medications. As a result, we have been awarded, along with a number of other communities throughout the state of Georgia, funding. Those funds have to be used in a particular manner. We have identified, Mr. Phillips, myself, and others through meetings with the staff at Coweta Forest, that we believe they are the agency most appropriate in our community to receive these funds and use the funds in accordance with the agreements. And so our recommendation is that the city enter into an agreement with Coweta Forest for a program they call PEER program. There, it's in your packet. But essentially what it does is it places a practitioner in the emergency department at Piedmont Noonan Hospital to help with individuals who may arrive in the emergency department who are struggling with addiction. It is also important to note that we will likely continue to receive funds year after year. The agreement in front of you is for a 12-month period. However, we believe that Coweta Forest will do a good job, and if so, we'd likely come back to you and encourage that we continue to fund that program. But right now, what you have is the first installment.
Make a motion to approve this
Second.
present agreement.
Just one thing, because of the resolution you have before us, and it's somewhat changed in the terms that are set there, to put it in agreement form, I would ask that you add, subject to execution of a specific agreement containing essentially the terms and conditions set forth herein and attached here to Exhibit A, which is what you've asked.
I'll include that in my motion, as stated by council.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. Thank you, sir. This next item is a consideration and ratification of purchase of and budget renovations of real property located at 24 and 26 Jefferson. I'll need two motions on this. The first is the ratification of the purchase of 24 and 26 Jefferson, and the second motion would be the approval of the budget for renovations of the real property located at 24 and 26 Jefferson. Is there a motion on the first item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second on the first item, which is the ratification of the purchase of the property located at 24 and 26 Jefferson. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The second motion is adoption of the budget renovation for the property located at 24 and 26 Jefferson.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Mr. Phillips, do you have a comment?
No, when you vote, I just want to make it.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, things. I want to thank Mark Johnson for taking the lead for getting the due diligence work done for us and putting the budget for renovations together. I think this is the first public announcement, the first touch that we've had. So it's exciting to announce that, the city, by this action, has acquired the OBB&T Truist Building in downtown Newnan, 24 and 26 Jefferson Street. Obviously, the first intention is we're going to relocate our sanitation, customer service, and billing department into the old bank building, which will be an excellent location to service our customers. And obviously, one of the other things that council wanted to do by the purchase of the building was to take the parking lot and preserve it as a public parking. And we will in the future be coming back to this body, probably asking for some budget amendments. We've identified the ability to actually add some parking spaces there, which would be very beneficial to downtown. So just excited to make the announcement to the public of the purchase of this property.
Yeah. So, for those of you who didn't hear him, 24 and 26 Jefferson Street is the old Truist, BB&T, then Truist building. It was in downtown Newnan, and the parking lot next to it. For those of you who don't bank with Truist, they moved out at the end of March. We were able to acquire the property, and it's right across the street from the municipal building, and that's where our sanitation billing department will move into that space. So,
What's the approximate time frame when we would actually occupy once the construction is done? I knew he wanted to answer.
I didn't get away that easy, did I?
he did want to talk.
We've got several things identified that we would like to take care of before we move in. One's a roof, and we're going to do some remodeling. If I were to give you a number off the top of my head, maybe 60 days, if not sooner. And the way we've got things lined up now, it could be sooner than that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Appreciate it. Okay, under unfinished business, the next item I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Koretko to handle for the council, and that my business partner has a business relationship with the applicant. And I am going to go in the back room, and if someone will come fetch me when this is over.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, under unfinished business, this is a public hearing regarding this rezoning request of RSD 2023-01 by Freedom Land Holdings LLC for 5.82 acres located at Old Atlanta Highway, which is tax parcel 073 Charlie 044 and tax parcel 073 Charlie 045, requesting zoning from PDC, which is the Planned Commercial Development District, and PDO, the Planned Office and Industrial District, respectively, to PDR, which is the Planned Residential Development District, for the purpose of constructing 36 townhouse-style condominiums. And consideration of the ordinance. Just for clarity ahead of time, when we do get to the public hearing, it's going to be 15 minutes each side, and I've asked Mr. Phillips to do the timing for me. It's all you.
Thank you, Mr. Koretko, and good evening, council members. Before you is a request by Freedom Land Holdings LLC to rezone 5.82 acres comprised of two parcels located at Old Atlanta Highway, as seen on the map there. The tax parcel ID numbers are 073C, 044, and 073C, 045. The request is to rezone the subject properties from PDC, Planned Commercial Development District, and PDO, Planned Office and Institutional District, respectively, to PDR, which is Planned Residential Development, for the purpose of constructing 36 townhouse-style condo units. The concept plan shows a proposed site density of 6.19 units per acre, which does meet our PDR requirements. The subject properties are currently vacant and are located in the Avery Park planned development. The Avery Park project plan shows the two subject properties as part of its village center, with tax parcel 073C044 indicated as PDC and 073C045 indicated as PDO. And these are the same zoning categories that remain in place today for the subject properties. Approximately 616 total residential units have been built or are currently vacant platted lots within Avery Park to date. Accordingly, construction of an additional 36 townhouse-style condo units would not exceed the allowed residential unit total of 684, which is 10% over the actual approved amount of 622 units approved as a special exception by City Council on July 13, 2004. That special exception request was for the update and expansion of the Avery Park Development of Regional Impact, or DRI, as it's also known as. One condition of that special exception approval was that any amendment of the original project plan must be approved by City Council. As the current request is amending the original project plan, this application does serve this purpose. Per the concept plan, the development will be housed in 5 buildings, with each building housing between 6 and 8 condo units. The maximum building height is proposed to be 35 feet. The minimum parking spaces per dwelling unit requirement is 2 spaces per unit. This would equate to a required 72 spaces. The applicant is also proposing 6 guest parking spaces. The minimum landscaped area requirement is 10%, and the applicant is proposing 50%. The applicant also proposes 1,300 square feet per dwelling unit, which is 26 feet by 50 feet. According to the concept plan, the existing forest main will also be relocated. The applicant expects the price points to be in the 400s, and that a maximum of 15% will be allowed as rentals. In addition, the units will consist of either 3 or 4 bedrooms. Regarding how the conditions have changed that renders the zoning map designation invalid and no longer applicable, the applicant stated, "The current zoning has been in place for numerous years without successive development. By amending the zoning to PDR, it will allow for a consistent development of a residential option within Avery Park." The applicant has included a playground and pavilion area for residents to enjoy. In addition, the applicant added, "The adjoining property was developed, but this property has remained undeveloped as initially proposed for numerous years. The property is a suitable location for a residential option, and that will be down zoning from what could currently be built on the property." End quote. I have also provided each of you a copy of the townhouse regulations within the staff report. 2 items are of note that we wanted to point out. 1, the end elevations must be consistent with the front facades, and 2, no 2 facades shall be alike in a single row of townhouse buildings. The applicant plans to build the front and sides in brick and the rear in hardy plank. And Megan, if you don't mind, we'll go through a couple of slides and we'll show them the elevations as well. Regarding the units themselves, there will be 29 rear driveway units and 7 front driveway units. It should also be noted that since the properties that are adjacent to the subject properties are zoned either PDC or PDR, that no buffers will be required. The applicant was required, however, to submit a tree management plan, and it was reviewed by landscape architect Mike Furbush. Mr. Furbush stated, after several plan revisions, re-reviews, referring to the versions that were submitted with the previous rezoning application in 2022, and an on-site inspection that physically staked the corners of the proposed buildings, and this is Mr. Furbush talking, I believe that they have submitted a plan that staff can fully support. The detention pond has been moved from the middle of the wooded buffer to an underground location within the proposed parking lot. The proposed buildings have been adjusted to save almost all the specimen trees. In addition, the newly proposed plan is substantially better than the plan that was originally submitted. End quote. Specifically, the buildings on Lot 7 were moved to the right by 10 feet to eliminate existing tree disturbance to the satisfaction of Mr. Furbush again. The water quality pond has also been removed in this version as there will be underground stormwater management. Also, as of the writing of this summary, staff has received 2 emails in opposition to the request, one of which was left at your seats tonight and one is attached in your packets. We received no phone calls on this particular application and met with one particular person at our counter. Now, as far as our required standards, I'll give a brief overview. 1, staff believes that the use is suitable in view of the zoning and development of adjacent and nearby properties. The subject properties, as part of the original Avery Park project plan, are surrounded by properties in the Avery Park plan development. Adjacent properties include office and commercial uses along Highway 29 and across the Crescent, as well as residential uses in Avery Park. The subject properties are surrounded by either PDC zoning, that includes a service station, a mixed-use complex, a veterinarian's office, and an office complex, or PDR zoning, that includes the neighboring Avery Park residential uses. It's important to note that the proposed zoning of PDR would also match the zoning of the adjacent Avery Park residential neighbors. For the existing residents of Avery Park, the proposed use would provide a residential neighbor instead of a potential office or commercial use that could be allowed by right, or would be allowed by right, with the existing classifications. Nearby properties include a mixture of commercial and office uses in the city limits in unincorporated Coweta County, including some residential uses north of the subject property on Highway 29 in unincorporated Coweta County. 2, staff believes the adverse effect on the adjacent or nearby property is minimal. The proposed residential condo units would be a less intense use than many of the potential uses that could be developed, particularly in the PDC zoning classification, including outdoor retail and automobile repair shops. Staff received no indication from the departmental reviews that the proposed use will adversely affect the existing use or usability of adjacent or nearby property. 3, staff does believe that the subject properties could be used as currently zoned. There are no substantial reasons as to why the subject properties cannot or should not be used as currently zoned. 4, staff believes the project would not cause an excessive or burdensome use of public facilities. The applicant was not required to submit a community impact assessment, as only 36 units are being proposed, and this is well under the 150 threshold for a community impact assessment. In this case, the service providers have indicated that they are able to address the needs of the development. The project will have impact, but the impact would not be excessive or burdensome. 5, staff believes the development will be consistent with the purpose and intent of the comp plan. In terms of the comprehensive plan, the future land use map shows the subject properties under consideration as future plan development. The comprehensive plan describes this category as areas developed through master planning processes with specific densities and uses tied to an approved project plan. The proposal meets the intent of the future land use category as the applicant is pursuing the proper steps through this application to amend the original Avery Park project plan to allow residential units on these lots. Excuse me. It should also be mentioned that the city's comprehensive plan does identify the lack of available land for development purposes as a need and opportunity. 6, staff believes the development would be consistent with the purpose and intent of the proposed zoning district. The proposed zoning category of the subject properties is PDR. The PDR zoning district allows residential development in a manner open to and advocating innovation in design and layout. The principal uses of land in this district are residential and with related recreational, cultural, community, and educational facilities normally required to provide the basic elements of a balanced, orderly, convenient, and attractive residential area. In this case, townhouse-style condo units are the proposed use of the land, and these units are permitted in the PDR zoning district. It should also be noted that per the zoning ordinance, the applicant would not have to provide amenities because the proposal contains less than 50 units. 7, would the proposed use be supported by new or changing conditions not anticipated by the comprehensive plan? The city completed a full update of its comprehensive plan in 2021, which included the future land use map. The future land use map shows the subject properties as planned development. The entirety of Avery Park also carries a future land use designation of planned development. Regarding the subject properties, there are no new or changing conditions that have been discussed or considered since the update. The comprehensive plan already shows these properties as planned development. And finally, 8. Staff believes the project shows a reasonable balance between the promotion of the public health, safety, morality, or general welfare and the right to unrestricted use of property. The general area where the subject properties are located primarily contains residential, commercial, and office uses within the city limits and in unincorporated Coweta County. As mentioned earlier, the subject properties are currently zoned PDC and PDO separately and consist of a collective 5.82 acres. There are many intense uses that are permitted in the PDC zoning category, ranging from outdoor retail, like I mentioned earlier, including stores, buildings, and vehicles, to automobile repair shops that are often not ideal uses to be located next to residences. The PDO zoning category also allows for a variety of office-type uses, as well as more intense uses such as banks and health fitness centers. Staff believes the proposed use of residential condos provides a complementary and transitional, which we think is a key issue here, a transitional use for the nearby residential properties in Avery Park. The idea of providing a non-commercial use for the subject properties that are slated on the future land use map as planned development and that are close to many residences in Avery Park is appropriate. The proposed condo units will also serve as a type of transitional buffer between the office and commercial uses along Highway 29 and the residential uses of Avery Park. In addition, one of the land use goals and policies in the comp plan is encouraging higher densities in appropriate locations as a means for continued growth and development. This proposal would certainly help pursue this goal. And in conclusion, I would like to go over the Planning Commission action on this. At the April 11th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Commission held a public hearing regarding the request and voted unanimously 7-0 to recommend approval of the rezoning request with the following conditions. 1, the development project will be consistent with the project plan, project density, project data, project amenities, proffered conditions, project tree management plan, and project architectural detail as provided as part of the application packet dated February 9, 2023, which by reference shall be made a part of this ordinance, including but not limited to all shown on Exhibit C attached hereto and made a part hereof. 2, the project shall comprise of a maximum of 36 units, being a townhouse design condo project as defined by the zoning ordinance and its requirements for a townhouse project. Residential attached homes shall be a minimum of 1,300 square feet. 3, the HOA for the project will include in its covenants and restrictions a prohibition against the residents of the project or their guests, I should say, using the existing amenities in the Avery Park subdivision and providing the covenants and restrictions that there will be financial penalties if it is determined residents of the project or their guests have violated this restriction. Unless an agreement for use of the existing amenities of the Avery Park subdivision is worked out between the Avery Park HOA and the HOA/developer of the project. 4, wrapping up here, the covenants and restrictions of the project shall provide that no more than 15% of the total residential units may be used as rental at any given time. 5, all the items specified in the city engineer's review memorandum of March 14, 2023 will be addressed by the developer as part of the project. 6, the stormwater management systems will be underground. 7, the applicant shall construct a playground and pavilion for its residents to enjoy. And 8, all plans, profiles, elevations, and other demonstrative materials, including in the application packet dated February 9, 2023, which by reference shall be made a part of this ordinance, including but not limited to all as shown on Exhibit C, attached hereto and by reference made a part hereof. And Councilmember Carrico, that is all I have, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. That was a mouthful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So thank you for the staff report. Excuse me. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm going to open it up now 15 minutes for the developer.
Good evening, Melissa Griffiths, 32 South Court Square, Noonan, Georgia, 30263. I'm here tonight with James Nicholson on behalf of Freedom and Taylor Josie, who is the listing agent for the property. We want to make sure that the rezoning application and all our materials, including the proffered conditions, which were adopted in the draft ordinance and also in Planning Commission's recommendation, our standard constitutional letter, the development summary report, which included all of the pictures that have been included as exhibits to the ordinance, are made a part of the record for tonight's hearing. Staff has worked with us ad nauseum on this project, even meeting with us again after going to Planning Commission the first time to try to make amendments, and we feel very much so like we have met all of their expectations and feel like by Planning Commission giving us unanimous support that that's exactly what we did. We kept tweaking at it until we could get it right. It is 5.82 acres zone PDC and PDO, and we're trying to go to PDR. We've edited the conceptual plan from the very first one. We originally submitted with 39 units before we withdrew that application after coming to Planning Commission and realizing that the edits we had made in our first application were not really the direction they wanted us to go in, and we didn't have enough time before coming before City Council to make those edits because frankly our architect and engineer were just a little bit backed up. So that's why we withdrew that very first application, because we took their comments very seriously and wanted to try to get it right. So with the second submittal, we feel like we did get it right with their response. We do have amenities of a playground and a dog park, even those are not required since we only have 36 units, but we do want our residents to have some amenities. We have been working with and continue to work with the HOA at Avery Park to see if we can work something out with them. And so the ordinance provisions that include language, if we are to work something out with them, can be addressed, and we wouldn't have to come back before this body if we are able to do so. We submitted the new renderings to show the facades with the edits based on what we thought and understood the Planning Commission wanted. The front and sides will be brick with the rear being hardy plank. The reason there are so many rear entry is because of the entrance. They're all going to be front facing to the entrance. So when you drive in, you're not going to see rear entries coming in on that main entrance. That's why there's a higher number. Thank you for pulling that up. That's what you will see when you drive by. Instead of seeing the rear entries will face inside the development itself. So we believe it will be a very charming and nice entrance into our development and then on through to Avery Park's development that is already existing. We have lowered the original density. We're now at 6.19 units per acre. We would like to offer to make an edit to the 15% of the residential units. It was brought to my attention that doesn't, it's actually not a round number. And so we would propose to say no more than 5 units would be rented. That way there's no confusion as to whether we could bump up to more than 5 or where we are. So we would be happy to proffer that tonight. It was number 4 on Planning Commissions, and I'm not sure which number it was on the draft ordinance, I'm sorry, but we will be happy to proffer to make that no more than 5 units could be rented instead of the 15% so that there won't be confusion. We did move the detention pond to underground location. This again was with recommendation from staff and comments from them so that we would be able to move the buildings over a little bit. We do appreciate Mr. Furbish spent a lot of extra time on this project. We took pictures, went out and staked it out so we could make sure that we were trying to save as many trees as possible. As you all know, most of that is already clear cut as is. So based on being able to go underground with the utilities and moving the parking lot over, we were able to save some trees. We're happy to answer any questions. I do want to reserve some time for rebuttal. I'm going to let Mr. Nicholson say a few things, and then if we could just save our time, Mr. Carrico, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is James Nicholson. I'm with Freedom Land Holdings, Sonoya, Georgia, 140 Village Circle, Sonoya, Georgia. I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration of our project. We're excited about it. We're a local builder developer in Coweta County. Our office is in Sonoya. We've been building and developing for over 16 years, and we think this project will make a great transition from the existing commercial to the single-family detached to the single-family attached to the single-family detached in the area. We're excited about the project, and I look forward to this, getting your approval if you so do so.
All right, thank you. All right, now if there's again, 15 minutes reserved for anybody that would like to speak in opposition. Just please make sure you address, state your name for the record, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Sharko, 10 Hill Pond Lane, resident of Avery Park. Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you here tonight. If you are here tonight in opposition to the rezoning, would you please stand and be recognized? So we've been a bit weathered from the whole rezoning process and multiple meetings, so we're a little bit lighter than usually. You guys go have a seat. Driving around Noonan, you can't go very far without seeing new residential construction in the various stages, many of which are not nearing completion anytime soon. Currently, about 50 acres on Atlanta Highway have been annexed and rezoned with over 100 new units approved for construction, which will severely stress the boulevard intersections with both Atlanta Highway and US 29. Distracted drivers only have about 7 seconds to react once they gain visibility cresting US 29 traveling south, if they are following the posted speed limit. Because this project is less than 50 units, no traffic study is required. However, cumulatively, this area will have nearly 150 new units added with no study required. The impact of all these units is yet to be felt, and I fear there's a traffic nightmare just over the horizon. I have spoken to well over 100 households in the course of maintaining our amenities and discovered that only 5 are for this development, 5 are indifferent, and the overwhelming majority are against it. I have 65 individual signatures on this petition that I've walked around and gotten from individuals, and if you want to take a look at it, you can. I made sure that people that signed it twice weren't counted twice. And countless others because I did not have my clipboard with me while I was working. It is unjust and insulting to me personally for this development to be able to capitalize off of our various amenities that I have spent countless volunteer hours to maintain, and as a wonderful selling mechanism to their prospective buyers. Keep in mind that it would be near impossible to prevent their residents from fishing from the lake that we stop, hold accountable those responsible for vandalism, and inevitably from them gaining access to the pool. This community would be much better served by businesses that provide for our residents rather than potential neighbors that would most likely add additional strain on our maintenance costs. The commercial space in question was designated to service Avery Park and surrounding neighborhoods with small businesses, similar to Summer Grove, and there's still an interest by many of the residents to have it developed in that means. It is not our fault that the anonymous landowner, the 10 The Boulevard LLC, failed to offer the property at a reasonable price that would attract development, and is now trying to recoup losses by accepting a more lucrative residential development offer. I've heard representatives in these chambers express disappointment with the development and look on Popular Road, and I wonder how it is acceptable to subject us to a similar look and degradation of standards. I've also heard concerns about a missing middle residential need, which I can see no possible way that a $400,000 townhome would quantify. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition for the remaining time?
Yes. Hi, my name is Suzanne Caponelli. I live at 209 Olmsted Trace in Avery Park neighborhood. We currently have a traffic problem at the Crescent and at the Boulevard in the morning. And so when you look at the number of homes we're discussing, potentially 2 vehicles per residence, that's 72 more cars exiting and entering at rush hour. And the zoning and planning members, one of whom lives in the area, also agreed that they are stacked up there, trying to get in, trying to get out. We have had quite a few accidents. Right now, many of us who have to make a left-hand turn, especially during peak business hours, which start around 2:30 to 3 because of different activities in the area, make a left on Old Atlanta and go all the way down to Country Club to try to get out onto 29 more safely, because the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit coming up over the brow, it's dicey, and you have people exceeding 55, of course. So with the Crescent, which is right on Old Atlanta, not the Crescent, the Crest, which they currently haven't even built, you're looking at even more traffic exiting from those areas during peak hours because of it being residential, because most people do work. Also, we have a parking issue that we're concerned about because the development only has so many spaces for each place, for each section, each lot. And they have guest parking, but the front doors are going to be coming out onto the boulevard. So people are going to be using those parking spots and those on Old Atlanta, and especially on the Crescent. The people on the Crescent already have parking issues because their driveways are so tiny. Why, I don't know why driveways that size are even approved for residential use, but that's water over the bridge. So we have all these cars stacked up on the Crescent. We can imagine when the residents of this new development decide to have company, there's going to be additional parking on the street. So, and you have the HELP, which will have large events for spaying and neutering, which I applaud them for their work, but they are going to be right in front of those residences on the Crescent. So that's I see all that as a problem. Not to mention, as Mike said, the burden on our POA. They've discussed buying into our HOA to try to use our facilities. They're asking for that. We're currently having discussions, but our pool is not big. And on a busy weekend, we will have trouble accommodating even our own residents for seating, umbrellas, et cetera. We don't have anywhere to expand. Our playgrounds are small. There's only a few swings at each one. So if they do, like I said, you can't say, oh, this is a playground. There isn't a gate to get in. There isn't a gate to the trail. It's just wide open. So we're going to have that. We don't want the burden of trying to police that. How are we going to track people and where they walk their dogs, et cetera, and if they pick up after their dogs? In addition, I know that in the past there have been requests for high-density housing in the city of Newnan, and the residents, who are far more proactive, unfortunately, than most of ours because they work and they can't make it to these meetings in addition. So, they came out in force and it was voted down. And, I don't think anybody wants to see this on their doorstep. The last point I have to make is that in 2008, we had an economy crash. So yes, these lots sat empty. We were just recovering when we bought down here in 2014. And so until this point, we're just recently, in the past few years, you've seen an uptick in construction and new businesses with the Crescent coming in. There would be more, it would be more attractive lot for a commercial entity to come in there and build something on those lots. So just because they've been vacant for 20 years doesn't mean they're going to remain vacant. I'm going to let others speak. Thank you for your time.
Just over 8 minutes.
Okay, we're at 8 minutes now, so that's 7 minutes remaining about.
7 minutes remaining.
Just under 7.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Henning. I live at 16 Arent Park Lane, which is the first alleyway just past the health clinic. So these condos would literally be at my front doorstep as I leave my home. I also walk my dogs in the neighborhood, and I have concerns beyond the 72 cars that will be in that area at rush hour. If you've driven in Noonan lately, you do see an abundance of cars all times of the day. We do have issues at the two exits to our neighborhood. However, we have trouble in all of Noonan throughout the day as more cars come in. We also only have two exits to get to I-85. I either go up 29 to I-85. Many people live and work near the city and head up that direction, either in the city, a lot of people at the airport who are moving to the south side due to the abundance of people on the north side. This is becoming a place where people would like to move with their families. So I have 29, and then I move through the bypass to Bullsboro. And if anybody's driven Bullsboro in recent days, you'll see that that's very crowded as well. Also, the infrastructure of Noonan, so if we continue to build residential, we still need to go buy our supplies places, right? We need to go have places to go and get coffee and meals. And as residential expands, if we don't expand our infrastructure, not only our streets, but all of the infrastructure around Noonan, people will have no place to go, right? And that is concerning to me as well. I also have concerns about the density of the condo units. Again, our houses are, number one, 3 to 4 bedrooms in a 1,300 square foot area is quite tight. I don't know if you guys, I live in a 1,400 square foot house, and we have 3 bedrooms and they're tiny. So that whole area, and thinking about $400,000 for a home like that, I just don't see in our neighborhood. We're a smaller neighborhood. We don't have those high home prices. So that's also challenging. So I just like you to consider the infrastructure of Noonan, the traffic that we'll see. Again, if something like this does move in, I think we need to consider some lights exiting that neighborhood, because people will not be able to turn left. That will be challenging, or roundabouts or some way, because accidents will continue to happen. Thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else would like to speak against? We've got about 4 minutes remaining.
Good evening, council. My name is William Plenty. I live at 141 Baldwin Court. Don't want to rehash too much with my other neighbors mentioned, but the traffic congestion is going to be a big concern at the choke points. I'm very concerned about that on a safety aspect, the community impact, and these condos. I think it's going to be very unsightly on our entrance to our community, and that's going to likely affect our property values. The density, I just don't see it as fitting to where I would want to live or continue to live. And for this reason, I'd like to continue my opposition to this rezoning request, and I also request that the City Council deny this request also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. How much time do we have remaining?
11 minutes and 52 seconds.
All right. So,
Correct. While the applicant reserved time
correct.
to speak, we did not ask if there was anybody in the audience that wanted to speak in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. Yes, I was getting back to that and apologize. If there's anybody else, we have some time remaining for those to speak for the project. Is there anybody who would like to speak for the project using the time remaining? Please state your name.
All right. Hello, my name is Victoria Kraus. I live at 72 Hollis Heights. I am also an employee of the City of Noonan, so I do want to state that up front. I am representing Pokey's Place, though, which is the Humane Society, which is located catty corner to this property. I enjoy this open land. I enjoy getting to see the animals that live there, the people who get to use it, especially these residents, for their animals. But something to consider is that changing this from the commercial that it is currently zoned to residential does benefit, because you do not know what type of people you're going to be having come in whenever you have a commercial property. With having residential, hopefully a community can be built, and a community can continue to grow. We do want to state from Pokey's Place that we do house dogs there, and they are fostered. Now, they are not loud barking dogs for the most part, and they have their allotted times that they're out in the yards. But something to consider is that whenever these are built, that the seller does their due diligence to state that there are dogs in the vicinity that may be barking. You know, you don't buy a house near the airport and expect airplanes to stop making the sounds that they do. So that is just a representation of, you know, what they do, and it would benefit to see. And I like what y'all have done. The facade has been very appealing, and it goes with what is already at 10 The Boulevard, with the brick facade and the kind of the city aspect appearance. So, yep.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak for the project? Looks like there's no one else. Ms. Griffiths, do you have any?
Yes, please.
And how much time do we have remaining?
Combined, they've used 6 minutes and 45 seconds, so we have.
Thank you. I just wanted to hit on a couple of the points that were mentioned in the opposition. First, in regards to the traffic study, there was a comment that we didn't have to do it because it was less than 50 units, and I confirmed with Mr. Cole that's not accurate. If we look in the packet with Mr. Clark's statement, under his report, under transportation, he said the traffic study was not required. It had nothing to do with the fact that we were less than 50 units or anything. It was based on his professional opinion as the city engineer. We were not required to do a traffic study, so I wanted to point that out. The question regarding whether or not a light could go at the state route, that would be controlled by GDOT. That would not be controlled by the developer or by the city. And that was not in any of Mr. Clark's notes or recommendations that he had for this project based on what is there now. In regards to amenities, you know, I've driven through the community and even confirmed with the board members that we met with, there is I call it a gated entrance at the pool. There is someone sitting there checking you in and out. So if we're not able to work something out with the HOA, then our residents would not have, whether it's a card or a key or a number or even their last name on the sheet of paper, they would not be able to get in through that access point to check in and use the pool. We are proposing our own playground, so I would assume that our residents would use our playground and not get in their car to drive to another playground when there's one right there in their backyard. This is a down zoning from what is there now and is a transition from the commercial to the single-family residential detached to have attached. In regards to the parking concern, I just want to make sure that everyone was aware that on the bump outs on both roads, those are actually already there, and those are for excess parking. We do currently meet with our plan the city's ordinance and requirements for parking with 2 per unit. We've got the 6 on site that are right by the playground and amenities facility, and then we have all of those on the bump out that are there as well that can be accessed by any visitors that we may have that don't fit in the 2 per unit or in those additional 6. Again, the other reason that we went to underground facilities was because of concerns for runoff. So if we add more parking, we have more runoff. And so we were trying to do the best we could with staff in meeting the ordinance and not having as much asphalt as possible. As Mr. Cole pointed out, we've got 50% landscaping when the city ordinance is only 10%. So we've tried to max out in areas where we can to make this a very lovely project as you come in. In regards to the density requirements or density questions, you know, these are townhomes. They are attached. They are not detached. So you are going to have a higher density with those than you do with detached homes. But we do meet the PDR requirements with the 6.19 units per acre. We understand that that's more than what the detached homes are that exist in Avery Park. But again, this will be a downzoning and a transition from commercial to single-family detached. So attached is going to have a little bit higher density, but with only 36 units, and with all of the other pros that we've got in our project, we're hoping that you will support us tonight. If you do have any questions, we are happy to answer those. Thank you so much.
Are we good to go on questions?
So, is there
Or-
anybody else to speak for? All right, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. So the public hearing is closed, so everybody understands that. Do we want to take let's take a motion to accept the report from the planning commission this time.
So moved.
Second.
All right, and is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, same sign. All right, the planning report passed unanimously. A motion to approve or deny the rezoning ordinance. But if you want, we can
I thought we were going to have Q&A before that, right?
we can do that, sure.
I think it would be appropriate.
We also have discussion after the motion.
Right, okay. One of the things that I still have some questions, it's not a reservation, but for the sake of clarity, when it comes to the HOA, I'm going to assume that you're assuming you're not going to be part of that HOA. Would that be correct? For the sake of conversation, for the sake of you selling your product?
As of right now, we cannot say that we are going to be a part of the HOA. We are, I mean, I even conversed with the HOA attorney yesterday, but as of today, we do not have anything. The other issue with the HOA is even if the board members and the attorney have a recommendation, they still have to get 2/3 vote of the entire neighborhood. And they're not sure how long that may take. So
Forever.
So that's why we had wanted to go ahead and have amenities on our site and have language that if we could work something out, we didn't have to come back before this body. But if we can't work something out, then we do have amenities and we do have language in place to protect everyone, we think.
Path forward, with the assumption that with the possibility of not working out, you guys would just really be your own HOA and submit your own covenants, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And with that being said, should you be welcomed into the Avery Park HOA, then you would be, language would be you'd be like a sub-association? Or you
I
would
think
be
it
part of
depends, the title, I think, depends on the timing as to whether or not this is handled before we've actually sold any of our units. Or, I'm assuming that if it doesn't happen, within the next 3 to 6 months, it's probably not happening, that could be a wrong assumption on my part.
That was really the only thing that I have was just really related to the HOA. I don't think just want to make sure you're moving ahead as if you're not.
Yes, sir, and we will have to have our own separate HRA addressing like landscaping and all of that, because our residents will not be cutting their own grass. That will be done throughout the entire development. So there will be multiple things in ours that would be separate anyway from the current Avery Park HOA that exist. And they would not want to have to pay for us cutting our grass and things of that nature, so.
That's all I have.
Anyone else? Wow.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for you, so Ms. Griffiths, you can hang out.
Yes, sir.
All right. I noticed on I appreciate you talking about the bump outs on there for extra parking. It doesn't look like any of those are intended for long-term parking. Would there be any signage or anything else saying that it's not long-term parking? I can see somebody easily just parking on one of those bump outs and it becomes an eyesore at some point.
I think that's city property. I don't think we can put our own sign.
So these are the parking lots here?
Those bump outs, I think, are.
That's a public road right now.
Okay. I was looking at some of the entry sidewalks and stuff like that. I saw the main sidewalks are 5 feet. What are the widths of the sidewalks going in? They look fairly narrow. Again, just trying to look at the elevations, and again, I know they're just drawings.
They would meet the city standard.
Okay. And then there's nowhere I saw in here for 1,300 square feet, what the number of bedrooms and bathrooms would be on these. Like, how many bedrooms are we looking at for
3
these?
or 4 bedrooms, depending on the unit.
Okay, so 3 and 4 bedrooms?
Yes, sir. So some will be 3, some will be 4.
Okay.
Because you can choose an office, and if the office doesn't have a closet, then it's not considered a bedroom. So you would have 3 bedrooms in one office, whereas another house may want 4 bedrooms and use one as an office, even if they have the closet. So that's usually the difference in
Okay.
these.
Okay. Pretty tight quarters then. One other question I had on regarding the 5 units maximum of rentals. Would
Yes,
you
sir.
be willing to include, or would the developer be willing to include any language that a minimum of so many months of occupancy before it's rented out for those 5 units?
So we had considered that language. The only problem, Mr. Karitko, is we're doing this as a phase, but they're probably going to be a building set. And so the concern is, how do we word that based on, we're not moving all 36 in on the same day?
Correct.
And so I'm not really sure how to properly monitor that based on everyone having different closing dates. So the concept is not lost or appreciated on the developer, but it's the wording of how to draft that so that we can actually police that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And-
so I mean, you're talking about like right now, but like downstream when the developer turns it over to the HOA or the condo association.
Yes, sir.
At that point, including something.
Yes, sir. And so it's not that the developer is opposed to that concept, it's how is that worded and how is that maintained once it is turned over to the HOA?
I think, if I can interject, we deal with this minimizing on rentals and things, and
Yes, sir.
I'll just for the record, as a former HOA president of Stonebridge, unless you have somebody in play to monitor all that stuff and keep track of it, it's really, quite frankly, a moot point. It's very difficult to do. So I don't disagree with, but when we try and 15%, 20%, 5 units, whatever, I mean, it's very hard to monitor. People come and go in and out, and I'm just saying, so it's difficult. So to try and put parameters on a builder, try and put parameters on an association, et cetera, is hard. I think it's a little bit above and beyond, truthfully.
I could appreciate that as well. One last question I have is, looking at this development with 29, the commercial on one side and Avery Park on the back, the amenities are kind of sparse. Again, if they're not part or included with Avery Park. Just looking for quality amenities, where, again, 3-4 bedrooms, a lot of people, one small park, one small pavilion. What other quality amenities could you potentially, or what's the plan for quality of life type for this development?
Well, it is going to be walkable with the sidewalks that will be inside and on the exterior as well. So there will be walkability in the project. We put the playground amenity area, away from where traffic would be coming in and out. That was why that location was chosen. I know we had another development before on Lower Fayetteville where we had to add additional fencing so that basketballs and stuff wouldn't go into the road. So you're kind of, with all the road frontage we have, really the safest location, I think, is where we have it. So, I mean, the plan is to build out the playground and the pavilion area and have the sidewalks we have for walkability.
It's just trying to make it amenities that make it so that the residents would not be encouraged to go over and use the other amenities, just kind of,
That is correct, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they're not very far from the new dog park either, so.
Okay. All right, any other discussion or questions from anybody? All right.
Thank you.
So, at this point, I'll take a motion to approve or deny the rezoning ordinance.
Make that motion to approve?
Second.
Any other discussion?
I do. I
Okay.
had several people reach out to me with opposition to this. And some of the things that they are concerned about, I too have concerns, and I won't go back into them when you've heard all of them. So I just wanted to make sure that we put it on the record that it's not just the people that are here and the 65 or so that are on the petition, but some people have reached out with phone calls and emails, particularly a couple today, expressing their concerns for this, the fact that when they purchased there, they thought it was going to be part of a neighborhood that had certain aspects to it. This is a material change to that, and their opposition is heard, and will be reflected in my vote.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or discussion from council? All right, so at this point, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, passed 5-1. That closes this.
Will require second reading.
And there will be a second reading, correct? All right? And I'm going to turn this back over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Corretco. The next item on the agenda this evening is a consideration of a resolution grant and emergency access road easement and maintenance agreement for a portion of Polk Street. Mr. Smith, how are you, sir?
Good, Mayor and Council. As you recall, Pope Street, we are still working on the overall length of Pope Street on a request to abandon. What you have before you is something that Mr. Sears has been working with legal counsel for Jeff Lindsay Communities that allows them to be able to move forward with their development while we're still working on the Pope Street abandonment issue. So the construction of the emergency area is almost, I think, 100% complete. You've got some photographs in there. It's drivable. There's a lock gate on it. As I pointed out, any development over 25 units has to have a second point of egress, and it can be emergency roads. So this before you is simply to allow them to be able to move forward with their development. They have full maintenance responsibility for it, even though right now it's technically our right-of-way. We are not responsible for any repairs associated with their road or their emergency access. And if you have additional questions, I guess, as to this document, hopefully Mr. Sears can probably better clarify. But I believe that's the intent and purpose of what's before you this evening.
I've got a question, just to be certain. The maintenance now rests with the developer until such time as she transfers the project over to an HOA.
Correct.
And no longer become the declarant, and at
Right,
that time, the HOA will assume responsibility for the
You'll
maintenance,
notice in the
correct?
document, both signatures are there for the McIntosh Commons HOA. That was, I think, was one of the delays. They were waiting for that association to be developed and filed, along with the developer. They both will sign this agreement.
Just want to make sure that's the case.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. We adopt the resolution grant as proposed. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening, Mr. Murray, is 25 Pinson Street. This is an owner update and request for extension.
Yes,
How are
sir.
you, sir?
Doing well, Mr. Mayor and Council. Before I get to 25 Pinson Street, I very briefly wanted to mention 31 Jones Street, which was before you back in March for a public hearing. I know several council members did ask for a 45-day update. Unfortunately, there's not much to update. We have made efforts to reach out to the family members, but have not heard anything back. The property still looks as it did when we had the public hearing in March. So their resolution deadline is in August, and hopefully we'll have some news to report then. As far as 25 Pinson Street, this resolution deadline of 90 days has expired. And in talking with the owner, he did admit that he was not able to focus totally on this project for the last 90 days. He was called out of the country, family obligations, and he's also had an issue with electrical contractor, his availability. He is asking for basically what the exterior is basically done. They have to finish the interior roughs, and the plumbing and the HVAC has been done, but the electrical is still not. They're waiting on that. Once that is completed, and he has gotten a commitment from his electrical contractor to start work on that within the next couple of weeks. And once that is completed, he expects to move forward quickly. He's asking for 120 days, and he felt confident in what he's telling me that he could finish it up in that time.
Okay, your opinion?
I've worked with him on other projects, and based on my dealings with him in the past, I think I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, is there?
I'll make that motion for 120 days.
Okay, 120-day extension motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second to grant a 120-day extension on 25 Pinson. The house is secure, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next is the second final reading. This is the zoning and subdivision regulation text amendments in Article 2, 3, 4, and 13 of the zoning ordinance of Section 11 of the subdivision regulations. This is for a second and final reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. We adopt on second and final reading. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Under visitors tonight, we have a request from First Baptist Church to close Brown Street for Vacation Bible School, June the 12th through the 16th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We grant the request to First Baptist Church to close Brown Street for Vacation Bible School, June the 12th through the 16th. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. That ends our regular agenda this evening. Hello, how are you? If you'll take the podium, I was about to call on you. Or I was about to say, is there someone who has an off-agenda item this evening? You beat me to it. Welcome. If you'll state your name for the record.
My name is Loretta Stinson.
I know.
I'm here tonight to ask permission or request that on July the 29th, we have Rocky Hill Day, which is an outreach for the community. It's the last Saturday. And I'm asking the council if we can close part of Wesley Street, which is right there in front of the Boys and Girls Club, up to St. Clair.
Okay.
If you know what I'm talking about, Richard Allen will go up and down.
Right, sure. We know exactly. Everybody understands where she's talking about.
Yes.
And there would be a detour there to turn
Right,
on
St.
to
Clair.
St. Clair
Mhm.
and go around. Although this isn't an agenda item, we would like our comment from our chief of police. Is there an issue you see with that request, chief? All right, thank you, sir.
I'll make that motion.
Any questions?
Second.
Motion to second. We grant the request to close the section of, I guess that's not Allen, that's Wesley.
No, that's Wesley Street.
That's Wesley
It's
Street.
Wesley Street in
From
front of
St.
Fort
Clair
Worth.
to Richard Allen.
Right.
On
But you won't
July
close
the,
Richard Allen because you got some apartments where they
Right.
turn right there.
Right.
So if we close right there at the back of the apartments,
before the apartments.
there you go.
I know exactly where you, okay, and that is July the 29th. Is that
29th.
correct? All right, good.
From what time?
Times.
It's gonna be from 12 to 6.
12 to 6.
And also, I was supposed to.
Let me dispense with this motion first. I have
Okay.
a motion and a second to approve your request. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item.
And I was supposed to invite the whole council, the police department, fire department, and everyone out to the outreach on the 29th.
Was that before we approved the motion? or-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Stinson. We appreciate it very much. Okay, anyone else? All right, any need?
Right there.
I'm sorry. If you'll come forward, please, and state your name for the record. Thank you.
Gail Lustig, 56 Stony Oak Drive, Noonan. And I'm here on behalf of two local animal rescue groups, Hearts and Homes in Noonan, Coweta Humane Society. We work very closely with the Coweta County Animal Services, and we would like to bring to your attention a concern we have with the City of Noonan Animal Services. I don't know if you're aware of what the policies are when an animal is picked up that is sick or injured. When it's picked up in the county and it goes to the county shelter, the county has money that it will use for the animal to see a veterinarian. It's an amount per animal. If the need of the animal exceeds that amount, they will approach one of the two rescues that are here to see if we are willing to pick up the rest of it and pay for it. The city policy is different, and there is no money allocated. We met 2 or 3 years ago with the interim police chief, who said that he felt it was reasonable for the city to pay some of these expenses and was going to ask to have it put in the budget. That has not been done, so at this point in time, if an animal is picked up by the city animal control, They will call one of the rescues to see if we are willing to pay for the costs, total costs. If we're not, the animal will be euthanized most likely because it cannot go to the county shelter. So we are asking that you consider adding into the budget that up to a certain amount per animal be allowed for injured and sick animals picked up in the city of Noonan, so that the entire burden does not fall on the rescues who have very limited resources.
We appreciate you being here this evening and bringing this to our attention. I'm going to call on Mr. Phillips to brief the council on our procedure there. Thank you.
Probably need to refer over to the chief of police, because I've never had such requests come to my office to fund that situation, so
I thought that under the Service Delivery Act, the county handled all of our.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I
Is
don't
that
know
not
how
correct?
that works. I'll be honest.
Chief,
I don't
can
know if
you
we
brief
need to
us?
Maybe defer this discussion, let us get information and get a report to come back to this body at the next meeting. I certainly understand and appreciate your request. I'm not prepared to discuss it right now.
Good. Well, I appreciate that honesty. Chief, do you have anything to add here? or-
I've not had any specific discussions with either of the agent groups. I would need to confer with our animal control officers in regard. I know where their hearts are with animals, them reaching out. By all means, they probably do, absolutely. But I would need to do a little more research.
Ma'am, once again, we appreciate you being here and bringing this to our attention. We truly do. We don't have an answer for you tonight, but we have a promise that we will find an answer and bring that to our city council's attention at our very next meeting. We appreciate it.
Okay, and we're available to help with any
Sure.
questions you may have.
Will you make sure that Mr. Phillips has your contact information before
Yes.
you leave? Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Yes, ma'am. Yes, anyone else? Any need for an executive session this evening? Is there a motion?
So
to
moved.
that, Unless
First
someone on
Baptist.
council has something.
We still have the First Baptist.
We already did that.
We did that.
We did,
Okay.
we did First Baptist. Anyone on council?
I do.
Keep up, man.
I
Okay.
got two items. I had a complaint come in about City Street, a house on Robinson Street. I don't have the address. I can give it to you later, that they were talking about code enforcement. So I will give that address to you later. And then the other thing is adding Chalk Level and Rocky Hill to our local historic districts. One of the things that we talked about at our retreat, and up here when we were talking about the duplexes, was that having the certificate of appropriateness be used in our current local, which I had assumed had been the local ones match the National Register ones. And so since we have different local ones than the National Register, I'd like us to entertain having Chalk Level, which has been submitted for National Register Historic District status, and Rocky Hill added to our local districts, so that when we have new construction and particularly the new duplexes, that they're added to that certificate of appropriateness process, so that we can preserve the character of those neighborhoods that we consider historic.
Is there objection from anyone on council for us to instruct staff to take those steps to make that happen? Anyone? Nope. Okay, you're so instructed. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
I think the address on Robinson is the house that I talked with you about, Mr. Phillips. It's the one that's,
If it's the one you talked to me about, Councilman Alexander, certainly it's in the court process right now.
yes,
It's the same
yes.
one.
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Yeah, I didn't want to call the wrong address. I just knew it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's not do that.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I didn't want to do that.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign, we're adjourned. Thank you.